Welcome back to Dollars and Senseless with Adam Smith. Today, we're privileged to host an entrepreneur whose journey from the tranquil shores of Maui to the bustling metropolis of Dallas-Fort Worth is nothing short of inspiring. Born and raised on Maui, Frank Teshima began as a fishing enthusiast before transitioning to become a skilled heavy equipment operator. In 2019, a move to Dallas-Fort Worth opened new doors, leading him from the construction site to the world of real estate. In 2022, Valley Isle Capital emerged as a testament to Frank's unwavering commitment and determination for empowering others through real estate investment. Join us as we delve into his remarkable journey and uncover the secrets behind his success. Welcome, Frank, to the show.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks for the opportunity. Happy to be here and share my story.
Yeah. So let's jump into it a little bit and talk. You're coming from Maui, which I know a lot of people are like, "Hey, we're jealous of you being out there."
Yeah.
But just talk a little bit about your background and where you're from. How you got into real estate.
Yeah, so I, like you said, grew up on Maui, and it's different living back here. We're not really exposed to much unless you go outside of this bubble that we're in over here. So I graduated from high school in 2014. Didn't really have a goal of where I wanted to be. So I kind of just went with the flow. Did landscaping, then I did security. And then when I met my fiance in 2016, that's where everything shifted. Her dad was, or currently is, an owner of a small excavation company. And I told her that I wanted to be a heavy equipment operator. And she was like, hey, you should come work for my dad. And luckily, it turned out that he needed an employee. So that's where I got into the excavation side, and that's where I kind of gained all my experience as far as career and where I wanted to be in life. And I had this goal that I wanted to be a blade operator, which is kind of the top line, kind of where you want to be. They're a finisher on the dirt side as far as heavy equipment, and that's where I wanted to be. And that's where I set my sights on. And by the time I think I set it from 10 years from 2016. By 2026, I wanted to be a blade operator full time. And on that journey of working towards there, my fiance got accepted into chiropractic school, and that's where everything shifted.
Okay.
And we had moved to DFW in December of 2019, and one of the best decisions I've made so far in my life. A lot of things could have held me back here. I got advice from some people saying, maybe it's better if you just stay here and support her. But we had done long distance. We had a long distance relationship while she was in college playing softball, and I didn't like that. So one, I didn't want to do a long distance relationship, and I've always wanted to move up to the States. So I was like, I'm just gonna take hold of this opportunity and go with her. And we went up there, and I kind of took the local boy mentality of being separate as far as traditions, the way I live my life. And I was like, hey, I'm just gonna go up there and get back into heavy equipment and just work my way, achieve my goal up there. And maybe when she's finished with school, we can move back home and I can carry that experience and then just get back into heavy equipment and just ride the rest of my life off till I was 65. And yeah, after after maybe a year, I was like, man, I should really figure out how to change my life, because at the company I was working with up in DFW, we were working a crap ton of hours and I was miserable. The commute to work was 2 hours round trip,
Oh,
and we were working 60 to 65 hours a week. And I was like, this isn't it. Like, how is this even sustainable to people? And that's where one of my pivot points was. I went home that night and I was like, how do you become wealthy? Literally word for word in Google. And BiggerPockets showed up. So,
so it really sounds like you had a couple different big moments in your life. I mean, it starts, you coming out of high school, you meet your fiance,
hmm
she's, you know, one, pushing you probably along in the life.
hmm
Then, her dad, gives you an opportunity. And it sounds like, again, you've got the drive. You want to succeed. So you get into that point of doing the construction and getting
hmm
into heavy equipment, but that wasn't it. And, it
yeah.
wasn't everything. Even though you wanted to continue to that path,
hmm
we got into DFW, a whole other world opens up because you saw what it does. And it's like a lot of people, they get into a job and they continue on, and some people, that's good for them. They want to stay in that you know W
Comfort zone.
two,
Yeah.
continue to get a salary, but you said you wanted more.
hmm
And so I think that's something that, it's great to see that you decided that you wanted to do something a little bit differently. And
hmm
so I think that's where really, Bigger Pockets comes in and gets you excited about real estate. And
hmm
let's talk a little bit about what you're doing in real estate now that you've got, that itch.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I got onto BiggerPockets, their whole thing, they're an education platform. They start off as a forum. Now they're, much more than that. And their whole focus is getting people out of their W-2, educating people on how to get out of their W-2 and become a real estate investor. And their starting point is basically single family. And that's where I started. And I mean, fast forward, I believe it was I 1 year of studying bigger pockets. I was like, man, this just does not fit my goals. And I already, from learning bigger pockets, I had learned so much about um goals, morning routines, how to really treat people. It's crazy. Like bigger pockets was more than just real estate. They're also mindset, how to become a better person. And that's why I love the platform. And within that span of 1 year, I developed all of that. And on my journey within that 1 year, I noticed that I wanted to bring more people that were close to me into real estate, um, in a passive sense. And re getting multiple people into a small deal like single family is very hard. Like you'll have to get 10, most likely you'll have to get 10 people in. If you want to get 10 people in, you have to do 10 different deals. So I was like, I was at the end of that 1 year period, I was like, okay, how do we get more people in one single deal? And that's where apartments came in.
So you jump,
But
so you're jumping from like single families, and you're
yeah,
like, in 1 year, you're going, okay, I'm done with single families. How
yeah.
do I get everybody else to come along with me? And so you jumped into multis just right then and there. You decided you're going to go do that.
Yes, but it wasn't too big. I thought it was only attainable if I could, 15 units, me as a single individual. So I started looking at small apartments, but then right at that point where I set my goal, by the end of the next year, which was the ending of 2022, I wanted to close on a 15 unit. That was my goal. But right there, I had met a person who was in multifamily syndication, which was closing, his whole thing was closing on big deals. Long story short, I met up with him when I came back home to Maui from DFW for Christmas. I met up at his office, and I just asked him a bunch of questions. I just had a lot of questions, and that's where he introduced syndication, the word syndication. Never heard of it before until that meeting. And my ear just like perked, and I was like, okay, maybe this is it. Like I can get multiple people into one deal. And he, before the end of our meeting, he was like, hey, you should come out to one of our events. And fast forward to March, I he was actually someone that had an education program, and I got into his mentorship in March. He texted me maybe in February, and he's like, hey, I'm gonna be down in Austin. Are you willing to drive down to my 3 day event? And I was like, yeah, I'll drive down there. I didn't, he sponsored me, and I didn't have to pay anything. All I had to pay was my stay. And I got into the mentorship program, and that was the next pivotal moment, was getting into large apartment deals. So,
Wow.
yeah.
I, you started talking about education at the very beginning, and then
Mm-hmm.
that spark continues on. I mean, it didn't stop with, your traditional college. It was, now we're getting to BiggerPockets, and then a conversation with somebody that's a mentor, and they're opening your eyes to so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
It's that's the kind of stuff that I think people need to really focus in on. That education doesn't just stop with high school, college. It doesn't stop there. It's reading books. I mean, there's so much information out there. I mean, BiggerPockets is just one place to get it. But even as you scroll through Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, I mean, you can see so many different things out there. And I know you're doing that a lot. I see you posting on LinkedIn a ton.
Mm-hmm.
But you're bringing people along the ride with you. So you're not only are you taking the opportunity to talk to people and get an education, but you're also sharing that education. And I
Mm-hmm.
love the idea that you're bringing people along with you. It's not just a solo journey. You're bringing the family along, the friends
Mm-hmm.
along.
Mm-hmm. And that, I mean, I feel like I could easily just learn how to get deals done by myself. But of course, the only person that's kind of going to be benefiting me, better being benefited, is just me. And I think I've learned in life that we get gratification from helping others. And yes, I'll get benefited as well, but if I can benefit my whole community, I mean, what greater life can there be, right? Than helping a bunch of people while still succeeding. So yeah, that's why I just fell in love with the multifamily industry. We
That's
can just help
awesome.
a bunch of people. Yeah.
So I know you just closed on a deal.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk just a little bit about how did you come about the deal? How'd you fund
Mm-hmm.
it? How'd you analyze it? I mean, just walk a little bit through that
Yep.
process.
Yeah, so we had the opportunity. We've built a relationship with this great team for the past, well into last year. And they had the deal closed on, under contract already, and they reached out to us, and they were like, hey, we see you guys working. You guys are doing a lot of stuff, social media, looking at deals. We want to give you guys the opportunity to get on a deal with us. And they're like, hey, if you guys can help raise X amount, we'll bring you on as GPs, and that's where you guys will be able to learn. And that's another thing that I wish I had done, was reach out to more people and tell people what I have been doing a lot sooner. Because we would be able to get in more deals, but everything happens for a reason. So me and my partners were able to raise a bunch of money from our investors, relationships that we've had for a while, and that's how we got on. So it is 133 units in Arlington, Texas.
A little bigger than
Less
15, huh?
Yes, way bigger. Oh man, I can't even. I honestly didn't think I would, before setting that goal of 15 units, I never thought I'd be a partner in 133. So, that deal is less than a mile away from the Cowboy Stadium in Arlington. And It's in a great location, and our strategy is to renovate the remaining units up to we're seeing at least we can achieve at least $160 rent bump right now, and that's conservative. So we're taking that, we're increasing the relationship between the tenants, the previous ownership, and I even got, I was talking with a bunch of brokers, they're asking us about the deal, and they're like, "Oh man, we know that seller, and he's not a very nice person." And when we closed on the deal, it was, I believe it was on a Thursday. We went to the property on a Saturday, and everyone that was on the general partnership, they went and did sort of like a community service. They helped. We wanted to show our presence that we're taking over and we're gonna change things up. And there are so many people that are so happy because of the previous ownership and just how poorly they took care of the property. So that was nice. We're gonna change the environment into a positive environment, and we're super excited about the property. Very, it was pretty much mismanaged, and that is the kind of deals that we're looking for. So we're grateful that we were able to acquire that asset in the condition that it was in.
Nice.
Yeah.
Again, I'm hearing a lot about community. I mean, that's
Mhm.
everything that you're talking about. I mean, we're not even talking about the $160 a door that
Mhm.
you can bump up the rent, but you're
Mhm.
talking about creating an environment for people who maybe didn't have a great environment before, and now they're getting a
Mhm.
better environment. They're getting a better community. There's a pride of ownership that comes into it, even in an apartment complex. I mean, there is a pride of ownership that comes with it.
Mhm.
And I think taking those opportunities, something that was not managed properly beforehand, maybe it was dilapidated, it has a lot of deferred maintenance, going
Mhm.
into trying to figure out what can I do to make it better for the tenants, because if you take care of the tenants, they'll take care of the property. It
Mhm.
keeps your costs down. It keeps the rent going on, less turnover. I mean, there's a lot of benefits to doing things, and I'm right there with you. That's what I'm looking
Yeah.
for as well.
Mhm.
And so I'm glad to see that you're able to get this one under your belt.
Yeah.
Again, almost 10 times as much as what your goal was set.
Yeah.
And so I think that's
Yeah.
that's awesome. So what kind of other what kind of other things are you into right now? Are you got some other ones in the pipeline?
We have our partners that we partnered up on that first deal. They're gaining a lot of traction, and that's kind of how it always is. Once you close that first deal, people are seeing that you can close. So we have a couple more deals with offers accepted. So DFW and somewhere in San Antonio. So we're excited. Um, can't really share much info yet, but that's
No.
in the pipeline right now. So we're excited. Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta watch out for the rules around
Yeah.
syndications and everything like that. So yeah, I
Yeah.
don't want to talk about that too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, now you've gotten to the point of transitioning your life from again we go back to college, and you wanted to be that heavy equipment operator, and now you've transitioned into now you're raising capital for multifamily deals.
Hmm.
I mean, is that where you kind of see yourself going at this point? Is staying in that capital raising? Do you want to do some other things inside of real estate, or maybe do some other things?
Yeah. So my whole goal within the next 10 years is to have a fully integrated firm based in Hawaii. And as far as acquisitions, equity sourcing, construction management and property management. I want all of that in-house because it gives me more control. And within the next 3 years, I'd like to have my full team of capital raisers for my company first, right? Build out each arm, and by year 10, I'd like to have it fully integrated, um, all in-house, so we have more control. And that's where it kind of is, right? You want to have more control over the investment so you can see to it that you have the ultimate um, chances of your investment succeeding. So
Nice.
that's my goal. I my whole role before I got into multifamily, or while I got into multifamily, was underwriter, just analyzing properties, and that's kind of where I thought I was gonna stay. But I wish I gotten into capital raising quicker, man. You meet so many good people, and you're just giving opportunities to these people who just never knew it was actually possible. So I wish I got into capital raising earlier, but now, you live and you learn. Now I'm in it, and we're pushing on. Hopefully, I can make a team within the next 3 years.
That's the biggest thing. I mean,
Hmm.
you get into a certain thing, you took action, you found, underwriting as a possible path. Now you're figuring out, well, capital raising actually might be the thing that you're really good at. But it doesn't
Hmm.
mean that you're going to stop doing that. You just might, the primary person that's doing that is going to potentially shift, and you create
Hmm.
that team and
Hmm.
bringing, again, you're talking about community, and I'm sure that, the team aspect, and you're wearing the, the Valley Isle Capital shirt
Hmm.
on there. So just thinking about how you're going to be able to transition yourself to a role that you can flourish in, and then
Hmm.
finding good people around you to continue to build on and to
Hmm.
strengthen and grow that firm, I think is
Hmm.
what everybody needs to do. You can't do everything. There's only 24 hours in a day. You got to sleep at some point.
Hmm.
Maybe some people say that you can sleep maybe 2 or 3 hours, but I know for myself I need at least 7, 8
Yeah.
on this. But yeah, it's great that you're thinking about it. You're starting at the very beginning as you're growing. You're already thinking about, I need a team to
Hmm.
grow. It's not, I
Hmm.
can't do everything. I need systems. I need those things in place. Um, and so it's great. I think it's awesome what you're doing. I think trying to find a way to help people along the path, and they may not be the same as you. They may not want to jump in as deep into the real estate environment as you are, but to be able to help those that are in your circle that want to potentially do this to help make a better life for themselves, you can help them along that path.
Yeah. Um, just yeah, exactly what you said, man. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think this is the reason why I started this podcast, was wanting to make sure that people had the opportunity to come on, tell their stories, talk about where have they been, what are they doing, because not everybody comes into this, you know whether it's real estate or other businesses, W-2 jobs, they all come into it in a different background, from a different environment. I'm over here in Kentucky. You started in Hawaii. You're still, and then you're back there. And
Hmm.
so I think it's great when you sit there and think about, there's people across the nation, across the world, that are all really starting the same spot, and then they're just coming into it with different avenues that they've got to negotiate and try to figure out, how do you do your life, how do you make your life your own. And I think what you've been doing, where you got into BiggerPockets and started to get not just real estate education, but you said the mindset, the goal setting. I think that's another big thing that most people just don't know about as they're going through. So I think just getting from the opportunity to educate yourself, continuing to educate yourself, continuing to strive for yourself to make yourself better, is what everybody's should do. Not everybody can do it, and I applaud you for taking these steps. And you're going to learn along the way. I think that's another thing, that you're always gonna learn from action. Sometimes you learn some lessons that are a little harder to take,
Yeah.
but taking action and stepping into it, I don't think a lot of people will regret necessarily, if they have that mindset of, I'm going to learn. Um,
Yeah. And I I mean, I didn't come from much. Like my parents they're not very well situated. And you know, I didn't come from people who had real estate. I was determined to change my future, because if I had stayed on the path um that I was on straight out of high school, I wouldn't be here talking to you. I would, what is today? Monday. I'd be at work, working with no goals in mind. And I just took it upon me that to change myself. So I didn't mention this earlier, but when I moved to DFW, I told myself that I was gonna take myself out of the mentality, out of, my pre-existing, um, I don't know, environment or of mentality, and I was gonna embrace the changes, the difference up there in Dallas, and that's where everything had changed. And the culture is different, the way people act, the way people think. I just took it all in, and that's where I changed really. I set out a goal to come back to Maui a different person, and I have. And it's all taking the initiative that you want to change and actually doing it, doing the things that you need to change, doing the things that you need to do in order to change. So
Yeah.
it all begins with you, and you're the person with the pencil. And if you want a different future, you need to put that pencil to paper and write it out. Don't give it to someone else, because someone else is going to give you a different future. So take that pencil and write out the future and go at it. I mean, man, we're so young. Like if you're 50 years old, you're still young. You still have 20, 30 years of like full mobility if I mean, unless you're like super, you do a marathon every so often, then you have more years. But if you're 50 years old, there's still time to change. So
Yeah.
you can do anything you put your mind to. That's what it all comes down to.
Well, man, I'd love to end it right here, but really, I want to, now let's transition a little bit and just kind of talk a little bit about, now that you've got your mindset of what you want to do, where you want to go, again, coming back from a background that you had,
Hmm.
I'd love for you to just kind of talk a little bit about, how do you manage your finances? I know you said your parents didn't come from much,
Hmm.
you know, to kind of talk a little bit about what did you learn from them? Maybe what didn't you learn from them? What did you learn on your own?
So my whole thing is budget. When I first got into all of this, I literally made my own budget sheet on Excel, all the income, all the expenses, and I would track everything. And I didn't really bring in much, but I was like my own bookkeeper, and I knew where the holes were in my finances, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first step. I mean, the next step was, okay, spending money on things that I actually need, right? Which is food, rent, gas, car insurance, all of that stuff. Everything else, like Xbox, going out and eating, all the materialistic things, I threw away, right? I was never a gamer, but that's just an example. So just focusing on taking care of my expenses, not increasing my spending as my income increased. So um, just focusing on everything that I was saving and put it in somewhere, um, into something that can compound. So I opened up a Roth IRA, and that was kind of a good thing. I did that once, I think, close to right after I had learned from BiggerPockets. They're all into financial freedom, and that was one of the steps that they gave us. So open up a Roth IRA. Everything that I wasn't spending on my necessities, I was putting into my Roth IRA and preparing for retirement. And that was it. that was kind of it. Just really saving everything that I wasn't spending on my necessities. And I think that's baseline because before I even moved up to DFW, I had a brand new truck. I ate out every weekend. Me and my fiance used to go out on date nights every Friday, and we were spending a lot of money. And it once I got a hold of like that mentality of no, you need to be preparing for retirement and for the future. And then I was like, well, I don't really need a brand new truck. I just need a car that'll get me from A to B. Um, we don't really need to go out. I mean, we can just cook all our food. We don't really know anybody up in Texas, so we just stayed home on weekends and we cooked our own dinners. So those are the kind of baseline things that everyone should do. Basically, whatever you don't need for essential expenses, save it and put it into a retirement account. And it's not life changing, but at least it's something. You're doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you started, right before we transitioned talking about this, you said put the pencil to paper, and the first thing you said was, "I did a budget. I got an
Yep.
Excel out and I put together a budget." And
Yep.
I'm right there with you. I don't think that you can do anything financially until you know where your money's coming in from
Mm-hmm.
and where it's going to. And
Yep.
you don't need to sit there and beat yourself over the head with it. I mean, you don't have to beat yourself up with it. I mean, you're talking about it. You went out to eat with your fiance. I mean, you all were doing some stuff. You had a nice new truck, but it didn't mean that you were stuck doing that and you had to
Mm-hmm.
continue to do that. You made a decision that, okay, now that I know where things are coming in, where things are going, now I can look at those things that are going and go, all right, what are the things that I truly want to continue to do? Because if I do these things, then I can't do these things. And I think that's really what you're kind of talking about when you're saying, I'm going to save everything that I don't need to do. Some people are going to want to do, go out to eat. And some people are going to want to do, have a nice new truck. That's fine. I mean, I love the idea of personal finance is personal. And so
Mm-hmm.
for you, you decided for yourself, I'm going to take what I don't spend and I'm going to spend it, but it's going to go to my Roth IRA.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be somewhere and it's going to grow. And you do it early enough, that compounding that's going to happen, that growth that's going to happen for the next, you're young, so it's going to happen for the next 40, 50 years. You won't even notice it later on, because as you said, you didn't let your lifestyle inflate with your income. So at the same time, not only are you doing the budgeting aspect and then you're spending, but you're saving. Now you're also going to save a little bit more, because as your income grows and as the investments that you put in place start to grow and
Mm-hmm.
you start to reap some benefits from that, all is going to show up later on for you. So I think it's great that you started with a budget, that you figured out what are your necessary expenditures, and then decided that you needed to save at that point.
Yep. And that's baseline in a business too, right? You want to have a bookkeeper. That's one of the few hires that you hire first is a bookkeeper. You need to know where the holes are in your business.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just chase the income. You need to know where the expenses are and where you can save on the expenses because it's all about the bottom line. So even in a business aspect, budgeting, right? And knowing where everything is going in and going out, kind of.
So you still contributing to your Roth IRA, or did you shift that all to your multifamilies?
So I'm shifting that over to an IUL,
Okay.
and that's an index universal life. And I'm not the expert in that, but all I know is it has better retirement benefits for you. And the things that it offers is crazy. And it's fairly new. It's a fairly newer product than a Roth. The index universal life is a newer product, but it's just crazy. the benefits that it has. Like I highly recommend that. I know I said open a Roth, but that's what I did. But now I'm transitioning everything over to an IUL as
Okay.
far as
Yeah, nice.
focus. Yeah.
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 So, again, it's, learning a little bit here and there of, something different that might benefit you, and, doing a, benefit
Mm-hmm.
and the cost
Yeah.
analysis for yourself, figuring out
Yeah.
what, again, it doesn't stop just because you make one decision.
Mm-hmm.
You need to always be looking at your strategies. You need to be deciding, okay, is this the best strategy for me?
Mm-hmm.
I think for myself, I've, taken what you're talking about, and I've set out an investment policy for myself. And so there are things out there that gives me some goalposts to figure out, what do I want to invest in? Where are the things that I want to do with any money that I do save? Not that I will automatically do it, because it's not like I have to put everything into this, but these are the things that I've vetted so far. And so I've kind of figured out that those things are the things that I want to invest in. And then you talked about, you started with the Roth, but now you're in IUL. And again, the benefits that you have for that, I'm sure I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about, a couple of benefits. I know you said you're not the expert in it. And so anybody who's doing this, definitely go talk to, the experts in the field, go talk to your
Yeah.
insurance, get, best education you can before you do any
Mm-hmm.
investments. But can you talk a little bit about what you found with that IUL?
Yeah, so the intriguing part is the taxes, right? Everyone hates taxes. So for me, and that's why I'm in real estate too, is the tax benefits. So in IUL, you're basically contributing into a life insurance policy, but there's two sides of it. One percentage of your quote unquote premium is paying for the death benefit, but the remaining is paying for cash value, which is your savings. And as time goes on, that whole thing will compound and you're able to take from your policy the cash value side, but you're not necessarily withdrawing. What you're going to do is you're going to take out a loan against it. And that's where the infinity bank comes in. So as you take out a loan, like say you have 40,000 and you want to borrow 30, you're going to take out a loan, and instead of there being a remaining balance of 30,000 in there because you took out wait, remaining balance of 10,000 because you took out 30, that whole 40 is going to continue to compound, and you'll use that money to hopefully make a good decision and invest it, and you're paying it back, but you're also in the investment, you're getting a percentage on that return, plus you're getting the compound interest in your life insurance, so you're essentially double dipping. And hopefully I explained that correctly and everyone can
Mm-hmm.
visualize it. And the great thing about it is when you hit retirement, that whole thing is compounding, compounding, and it's gonna start paying you in retirement. But it grows tax free. And when you're in retirement, you're pulling out and you're not paying taxes. And that's the thing that everyone doesn't see. Because when you have a 401k, if it's not a Roth and it's a traditional 401k or you have a traditional IRA, whenever you're pulling out money in retirement, you're paying taxes on that at your tax rate. And taxes are supposed to go up in 2026. So you're paying higher taxes on the time at the time that you're pulling this out. So if you can get into any investment vehicle that'll not tax you when you pull out money, I mean, who's not all for it? So
Yeah.
that's why I love IUL. And
Nice.
the thing, one last thing is in index universal life is basically everything, it mimics the stock market. So when the stock market goes up, your policy will go up. But like always, the stock market dips, your portfolio doesn't dip. So there's a ceiling to how much your portfolio can gain, which is 12% return, and it'll never go below, I think it's 0.025% return. So it'll never hit zero. So your portfolio is always growing, essentially. If not, it'll just stay the same. So, I mean, that's just lucrative, man. So that's why
That's
I've
crazy.
shifted. And I kind of tell everyone, like, I don't sell insurance. I do all real estate. But if anyone ever asks me, like, what kind of retirement program should I get? IUL all day. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Again, yeah, and again, you're educating yourself. I mean, you continue to educate. You continue to do this, and I
Mm-hmm.
think you're a perfect example of taking small steps and just continuing to compound on things.
Mm-hmm.
And we started at the very beginning. I mean, you when you decided to move from Maui to DFW, and you're talking about, okay, I needed to take hold and I needed to change or at least embrace what's going to happen and just see how things go. And then there's just a little bit of compounding that happens. So just
Mm-hmm.
not even in your personal finances, but in your life, just this compounding that's continuing to happen. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I'm glad that you're doing things like this. I think it's great, what you're doing as far as the real estate and trying to continue to build your financial future based on how you want it to look. Again, it's personal, and I'm glad that you're doing this. So, I want to wrap up a little bit here, but before we do that, tell people where they can find you. They want to be on that financial journey with you.
Yeah, so I am most active on Instagram. Um, my handle is FK Teshima. And then I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm active on LinkedIn. So any of those two platforms, you can just reach out to me. I haven't hired a VA yet, so that's all me, all my messaging. So reach out to me. I mean, I just love helping people if there's in any way, if it's through conversation or if you want to get on a call, I'm here to help. And you can also visit our website, valleyalcapital.com. Yeah, and that's about it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, find Frank on Instagram or LinkedIn or on his
Yep.
website at valleyislecapital.com.
Mm-hmm.
Frank, thanks for coming on. I
Yeah.
appreciate you being on Dollars and Senseless, and have a great day.
You too.